Friendly 246, Dulles Tower.
246 on the ground.
Friendly 246, you say you're on the ground?
We are on the ground. We just landed.
Friendly 246, understand you're on the ground. We are dispatching emergency services to your location now.
Hold on. Okay, so we're evacuating the aircraft?
Friendly 246, are you saying that you're evacuating the aircraft?
Okay, ground friendly 246. The runway across from Wendy's and Aldi's.
Friendly 246, Roger, understand from the Wendy's and Aldi.
Affirmative, all passengers and pilots are alive and well, no injuries.
Friendly 246, that's great news, thanks for sharing. How many passengers are on board?
We have 5 passengers and we had 1,100 pounds of fuel, no fire, no problem.
5 passengers, 1,100 pounds of fuel, and how many crew?
2 crew.
7 total, 1,100 pounds of fuel, thank you.
Good job, Friendly 246. Southern Airways Express Cessna 208 Caravan. Engine failure on a snowy departure out of Washington's Dulles Airport yesterday, Friday, the 19th of January. Let's check it out. Very little damage to the aircraft. I don't see any wingtip damage or horizontal tail damage. The propeller is in the feathered condition and bent as it hit the guardrail here in what appears to be a very slow turning, almost idle RPM or less, almost windmilling condition. The propellers on these PT-6As are feathered during an engine failure per the pilot operating handbook to minimize the drag of the windmilling propeller for your forced landing. These are not automatically feathering propellers like you might find on a PT-6A powered twin engine aircraft. These are manually feathered by the crew members. And look at those power lines right behind this aircraft that they were paralleling on this roadway. Let's check it out on Google Earth. Here's the data from the ADS-B exchange departing Washington's Dulles Airport runway 30. A little bit of a left turn, then a vector to the right, and then bam, engine failure right here at 1,100 feet and 90 knots. Well, that engine probably started failing somewhere right in here. Looks like they got up to 98 knots, 90 knots. They maintained 1,100 feet. So I'm guessing somewhere right in here they got an engine problem, and they made the immediate decision to do a left-hand turn and land right here on the Loudoun County Parkway. Starting with Google Maps, here's Washington Dulles Airport, runway 30, the departure runway. And here is the parkway and the landing area right down in here. Here is, this is an older photograph. Here's where the Aldi she's referencing, and Wendy's restaurant is going to be built right here, or is built there today. And the IHOP that you see the sign, and the aircraft ended up right down here. And there's that sign to Ashburn and Herndon. So the aircraft ended up right over here, and look at the size of those power lines that they had to parallel and avoid. They also managed to duck under or land before this overhanging traffic light up here and rolled right underneath it. And at the same time, dodging all the cars as well. So they had to have touched down somewhere back in here. Let's turn around and go the direction of flight. They had to have had touchdown somewhere over in here, missing these wires to the right, and then rolling under these stoplights, and then getting the aircraft stopped right down here in front of the IHOP. Just an amazing good job dodging all of these signs and all of these cars. Well, not those cars. Those are the Google cars, but the traffic that was on the ground at the time of the accident. And it was terrible weather, too. If we take the ADS-B data from ADS-B Exchange and put it into Google Earth, here you can see the flight path. Looks like they peaked out somewhere right around in here, and then immediately made the bid for the parkway, touching down somewhere right abeam the big white buildings here, and rolling out to the Wendy's. Again, emphasizing the importance of having a pre-flight departure briefing. What's your plan going to be when that engine fails? Notice they didn't try a return to the airport. They didn't try to do a 180-degree turn. They just did a quick 90-degree turn to the left and set her down on the predetermined spot. Southern Airways Express is a small essential airways carrier operating under FAR Part 135. Since deregulation, the federal government has opened up a provision in the FARs for essential air carriers to provide service to small outlying airports that major airlines wouldn't otherwise do because it's not profitable. So they operate with subsidies from the U.S. government to keep these smaller routes operational. But they do this under FAR Part 135, not FAR Part 121. This particular flight was part of the route from Washington, Dulles up to Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Flying for Southern Airways Express is generally considered an entry-level position on your career path up to the airlines. You can sign a contract to get the training to fly and work for them, but if you do not complete the terms of the contract, you can get sued upwards of $20,000 for an FO or $10,000 for a captain if you don't complete the terms of the contract. Otherwise, the pay at Southern Air Express is pretty low, something along the order of anywhere from $18 to $50 per hour. But working at places like this gives you an excellent opportunity to rapidly build up PIC, pilot and command time, operating a turbine aircraft under FAR Part 135. So you can, most folks rapidly build up their time and then move on from here onto the next better paying flying gig, which results in a relatively high rate of turnover amongst the pilots. And Southern Airways Express has been under some scrutiny for their maintenance practices in their operation, trying to keep things going with the various issues impacting the industry regarding supply chain and among other things. And if you want to read what it's like working over at Southern Airways Express, there's plenty of information available out there on these various boards like at Reddit. Regarding the weather the day of the accident, yeah, pretty crummy, snowy weather, but these Caravans are equipped with de-ice boots, so they can handle this weather if properly de-iced before takeoff. And looking at the condition of this engine, it appears to me that this was in fact an engine failure. The crew did feather the propeller as required by the pilot operating handbook. Investigators will be looking at the induction separator to make sure that that was on at the time, as required by the POH when operating in these sort of icy conditions. The PT6A is a reverse flow engine, and so it's got an induction separator that brings the airflow in and around a tight 90-degree bend with a opening out the back to expel any solids like ice before the air enters the engine. So great job, Friendly 246, getting that aircraft down almost unscratched under some very challenging conditions, making a plan and sticking to it. Thank you so much for your support of this channel, especially the folks over on Patreon that make this content possible. See you here. The Logitech. Try it with the Logitech controller here. Try to keep between the ditches there, Brownie. And we're off. There we go. All right, flaps up. Have to take off checklist complete. PIO. I don't spend a lot of time here on MS 2020. All right, so we get a little bit of a turn to the right. There's about 1,000 feet. Looking for that road off to the left here. There's the 3 buildings. sachet over here to the right. Of course, we got VFR conditions here in the simulator. Of course, they had very snowy conditions. So just over that tree line to the left is where the pilots know where this road is. And there's the intersection right there. So somewhere right about in here, engine failure. Trim, 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 feather the prop. Let's consider some flaps here. And make that bid for the roadway here. Don't know how to turn her off. There's those power lines. He's got to weave it right down, or they've got to weave it right down between these trees and this power lines. Better than I'm doing. Now they got to negotiate this turn here. Flare, 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 Brownie. God dang flare. You want to get down before that? There you go. Oh. Ah, see, I blew it. I crashed. Bam! I didn't make it. That's a tight fit. Holy smokes.